They've got your name and they know where you live.
The rush that you get from hacking is quite phenomenal.
They've got your bank details.
I nearly fainted when I saw that they'd practically cleared the account out.
They've got you.
As soon as you log in, they've got everything. They own your entire digital life.
Hackers have stolen information from thousands and thousands of us.
That's what we bought, your card number,
yes.
And that's your name?
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah. Major companies have failed to keep our private data safe.
What's happening now is a big wake-up call.
Tonight on Panorama, I'll be finding out just how easy it is for cyber criminals to steal our identities.
The penny just dropped. I felt very vulnerable and violated.
We live much of our lives online. Shopping, dating, banking, every day we hand over sensitive information about ourselves. I thought I was safe until I saw this.
A major cyber attack on the broadband and phone provider TalkTalk. Millions may have had their personal details stolen.
As a TalkTalk customer, I could be one of them. Finding out my personal details could have been stolen, personal details I trusted them with, is alarming to say the least.
The company says it doesn't yet know how many of its customers have been affected.
What I want to know is what happens when hackers get their hands on this stuff. What does it mean for all of us?
TalkTalk now say nearly 157,000 customers had their personal details stolen. TalkTalk is not alone. There have been some big hacks of late, targeting big companies, Sony, eBay, and bankers JP Morgan.
The hackers are winning. There's more bad guys than there is good guys. And the bad guys only need to find one vulnerability, just one single vulnerability, and they're in.
This map shows just a fraction of cyber attacks as they happen across the world in real time. Millions of attacks, targeting websites day and night. A 21st century crime wave.
A bank robber, why would you walk into a bank with a sawn-off shotgun, taking a big risk, getting a relatively small haul, compared to being able to commit a crime remotely from another country where you've got very little chance of being caught?
Cyber criminals hide in the shadows, but hackers attack computers for a variety of reasons, and some are willing to talk.
I'm on my way to meet a man who's been accused by the United States authorities of being one of the most sophisticated and prolific hackers in the world.
Larry Love is a wanted man. He's accused of hacking into the US military, NASA, and the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, so this is the indictments that they were issued.
He faces extradition next year, which he'll fight.
These are sensitive networks. They should have spent the money and the resources to secure them. If somebody, especially somebody sitting in their bedroom in a dressing gown, was able to hack all of those things, then, I mean, the major problem isn't that person. The problem is the US government.
If someone can breach some of the most secure websites in the world, how hard must it be for companies like TalkTalk to defend themselves?
They're not special in the sense that everybody has a major security problem. Nobody in this business is without the sin of being insecure, of not having paid sufficient attention and resources to their security.
Larry says he's been shown the code used to attack TalkTalk. He says the hackers exploited a vulnerability that's been around for years.
Pretty much this TalkTalk hack, they didn't write any software, they didn't think hard about the problem, they used a tool somebody else had, they ground away at it, and eventually, pop goes the weasel.
Saturday, 1:52 p.m.
TalkTalk customers have been hacked 3 times in less than a year. The latest hack last month was the most damaging. 15,500 TalkTalk customers had their bank account details stolen.
Ma'am, this is Shane Williams from TalkTalk. I needed to talk to you, madam.
The voice of a scammer targeting TalkTalk customer Tamsin Collison. Her bank details weren't taken, but some of her customer details were, in the first major hack last December.
I was sitting at home working. Phone call. Good afternoon, Miss Collison. This is TalkTalk calling. We understand you have a problem with your broadband connection and we're here to fix it for you.
Which made sense to Tamsin, because she'd reported a fault to TalkTalk.
So, what's not to believe?
The people that were on the telephone knew our name and our telephone number and that we were TalkTalk customers, and they said that there was somebody else had been using our computer.
82-year-old Barbara Manley and her husband Harold also believed they were dealing with a genuine TalkTalk employee when they were called a month ago.
I'd got to know her quite well because she said her name was Michelle, and we'd had quite a chat to her, and it seemed quite feasible that there was something wrong with the computer.
They were on the phone to me for about an hour and a half, fixing my computer, showing me all kinds of terrible things.
Both Tamsin and the Manleys were talked into giving the scammers access to their computer and online banking. They were tricked into thinking they were getting a refund from TalkTalk, but instead the thieves were raiding their bank accounts, stealing almost £14,000.
I went to the bank and I nearly fainted when I saw that they'd practically cleared the account out.
It was an absolutely horrific moment to discover that I'd been mugged, basically, and that I'd sort of said, help yourself. You know, I'd been complicit in my own mugging.
Tamsin says TalkTalk only confirmed her personal data had been stolen after she'd been scammed. She says she should have been told much sooner.
I would have been alert, and I would have been armed, and I would have been protected. I believe that TalkTalk did not protect their customers until it was too late.
TalkTalk say they wrote to customers twice to warn them of scams following last December's data breach. They say they are not responsible for the losses suffered by Tamsin and the Manleys because the scams would not have been possible without either of them giving the thieves banking information.
It's quite frightening, really. It's as if somebody is outside the house looking through the window. They may well be, we don't know. If they can get us on the computer, how do we know that they're not going to come to the house? And so we feel completely unsafe.
If we want to use the internet, we have to trust companies with our personal data. But just how secure are they? I'm going to find out.
How you doing? Hey, Mustafa. See you.
I've come to King's Cross Station in London to meet a group of hackers who are willing to show me. We're heading up to Edinburgh to set them a challenge.
I've dabbled in writing code and playing with code and design, but nothing piqued my interest as much as learning how to hack.
I know how to use a computer. These people know how to take them over.
I got kicked out of school, so when I was at home I just started self-teaching myself programming and then moved up to finding how to make a vulnerability, how a vulnerability works.
Hacking is a culture more than an activity. It doesn't have to be breaking things, it can be creating things as well.
The Cyber Academy at Edinburgh Napier University train police to combat internet crime. We've asked them to set up an experiment, create the kind of company website many of us place our trust in, and let our hackers loose on it.
So the challenge that we've set for you is we've created a broadband website. It's called British Broadband. So we've got things like credit card details, passwords.
Can the hackers break into our fictitious website, British Broadband, and steal its customers' valuable data?
We wish you all the best of luck.
How long are you expecting them to take to get to the databases? Or
We would think in total to find all the vulnerabilities will take between 2 and 4 hours.
The academics had created a number of vulnerabilities, ways to hack into British Broadband. But our hackers found one of the easiest routes within minutes.
So there's an admin user here called John.
Yes, that's correct. So we found one of the usernames for the database.
So they've done that in about 5 minutes. Is that what you expected,
well,
or?
Password took about 1 second to crack because it was
Yeah.
very basic.
Password took 1 second.
Yeah.
Mustafa has already cracked the password of the website administrator. Most passwords are easy to hack because most of us use similar passwords, and the hackers know it. A few minutes later, British Broadband's customer details are up for grabs.
Got the credit card details.
You have credit card details now.
Oh.
Did you find that surprisingly easy?
No, I found it unsurprisingly easy.
Unsurprisingly easy? Why so?
Because it's not surprising how easy it is.
I think it shows how easy it is sometimes for intruders to get into databases if the credentials are not protected properly.
So they've got access to all the information on the database, but they don't have total control?
Not of the computer, not.
But that's something they're going to try and do, is it? We'll see.
We'll see.
Okay.
Minutes later, it's all over. Our hackers have complete control of the website. With just a few clicks, they take down the entire site.
Whoa!
So if that was a real business, suddenly the customers would all find that when they go to the web page, it's not there anymore. Yeah.
British Broadband's customers wouldn't be able to use the website, and their names, addresses, phone numbers and credit card details are now in the hands of the hackers.
Like anyone could do this.
Yeah.
So
Well, not anyone.
Yeah, anyone could do this.
So
Like,
it was easy.
A 5-year-old could do this.
5-year-old?
Yeah.
Mustafa, how do you feel about the suspended sentence?
I have to go in now, so I can't really talk now.
In 2013, Mustafa was given a suspended prison sentence for attacking the Serious Organised Crime Agency and the CIA. He is now one of the good guys and currently completing a computer science degree.
Yeah. So how typical was that website in terms of its defences?
It's extremely typical. A lot of credit card details are hacked in that way.
In the real world, it will be much tougher, and obviously an attack could go on for weeks or months.
But are there some websites out there that will be as vulnerable as this one you've set up?
Yeah, certainly the smaller websites that don't have a security team managing it 24/7 will typically be weak.
In the age of cybercrime, criminals are waiting to invade our homes and offices. Most of us have received a dodgy email we shouldn't click on, but what happens if we do? Enter malicious code or malware.
I spend my time digging around in the cybercriminals' latest pieces of malicious code, figuring out how they're attacking people and finding creative ways to stop it.
James Line is an internet security expert and helps build cyber defences. Cybercrime is a multi-billion-pound enterprise, creating hacking programs which can steal our data on an industrial scale. There were estimated to be nearly 2.5 million internet-related crimes in England and Wales last year.
At the top of the tree, you have a number of people, a number of gangs, producing these software packages that are used for the majority of exploits and attacks. You have multiple parties selling competing cybercrime products. We see them do price drops to acquire more customers. They have commercialized and professionalized cybercrime to the degree that it's simple.
Hundreds of thousands of new pieces of malware are released every day. They infiltrate your computer. You probably won't even notice them.
We see about 30,000 new infected websites a day. You land on a legitimate website that's been attacked. That will exploit your computer, and that will silently, in the background, install a piece of code that lets the attackers monitor everything you type. So as soon as you log into any of these services, they've got everything. They own your entire digital life.
Anything that might contain links to financial information will be mined. Social media accounts, store accounts, email accounts.
It's funny, people don't think about email accounts as being valuable, but email accounts actually unlock a surprising amount of our online life.
And they can also unlock life savings. In June this year, Vivian Gabb was completing on the purchase of a house, which she'd planned as a retirement investment, when she got an email she thought was from her solicitor.
Dear Viv, we've changed who we bank with. I forgot to inform you of the changes in the email I sent you yesterday. Our new banking details are stated below. Kindly transfer balance of £46,703.20 into our new client account, and then it gives the details, the banking details.
Yeah, it looks totally genuine, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does look totally genuine.
Vivian went ahead and transferred almost £47,000, her life savings.
I phoned the solicitors because I hadn't heard anything and said, oh, have you received my monies? And they said no. So that's when everything started to kind of fall apart. At the end of the evening, when I was kind of on my own, the penny just dropped. And yeah, I felt very vulnerable and violated.
Vivian doesn't know how she came to be targeted. She still bought the house, but she had to borrow to replace the stolen money and is now working 7 days a week to pay it off.
It just seems that the criminals are getting better. It just seems like they're always big steps ahead.
And the police agree. They're struggling to keep up. These are complex crimes carried out by criminals who could be anywhere in the world. And the scale is overwhelming.
We're not coping, are we?
Society is struggling with this, and we're certainly not dealing with it the way we are able to deal with other types of criminality. There's no doubt about that, and nobody's trying to deny that, and we're wrestling with how do we do this differently. We look at the scale and volume we're dealing with. It is very, very difficult to expect policing to detect these crimes.
What do criminals do with hacked information? How do they turn it into cash and get away with it? Welcome to the dark web, an anonymous underground world of cyber secrets, the perfect black market for hackers hawking stolen data.
We're in, exactly. This is our main dashboard here. And
James took us in using a dark web browser.
People can't see where you're browsing or where you're browsing from. In fact, at the moment, this website thinks I'm in Romania.
Hacked mobile phone accounts, subscription TV accounts, shopping accounts, the list goes on. All bought and sold here using Bitcoin, a hard-to-trace virtual currency. It's like a criminal sweet shop.
So let's click in here. And what you've got here is a list of various credit cards of individuals for sale.
James searched for UK credit cards.
So we've got a couple here, haven't we? One from Gloucestershire, one from Devon there. Am I right in saying this is just one of the marketplaces on the dark web?
Right, that's correct. Only one of them, but there are several others.
Cal Leeming knows all about using other people's credit cards. He started raiding websites to steal them, aged just 11.
The rush that you get from credit card fraud and from hacking is quite phenomenal.
Within 2 years, he was running riot on the web with other people's money.
I started ordering very small things, and then it got progressively more expensive, like computers. Ended up buying cars as well in the end, and that got me sent to jail, unsurprisingly.
At 18, he was sentenced to 15 months for hacking the details of 13,000 credit card users to buy £750,000 worth of goods.
I was by no means the best hacker in the world or the country. I may have been the youngest, but not the best.
Cal is now a software engineer and security advisor. It was the police who saw the potential for him to use his talents legally.
And once I was released from prison, the police officer involved in my case actually got me my, two work references, which helped me get those jobs. Where he really helped me change my life around.
Cal might have turned his life around. The trouble is, he says, business has not turned itself around.
It's easier now to do credit card fraud than it was back in 2001, and that's really saying something.
It really is easy. On the dark web, James Line bought the credit and debit card details of 13 people for us. I'm meeting one of them.
Janet,
Hello.
hello,
Hi.
I'm Daniel. That's what we bought, and I presume that is your card number with the expiry date.
Yes.
And that's your name.
Yeah.
And the your address. And that's what it cost us. $10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
If I was a criminal, I could have raided Janet's bank account.
So you got the card there?
Yeah, there's my card.
So the number, that's, yep, that's exactly the same, isn't it? And then the expiry date, and that's the
217.
that's the number on the back, isn't it? Yeah, goodness.
Yeah, everything.
How do you think someone might have got a hold of this?
I don't know, because I do so much shopping online that it could be from anywhere.
With just a few more details, like Janet's national insurance number, a hacker could have stolen her whole identity, leaving her exposed to even more fraud.
What has staggered me more than anything is how easy you have come across all this. I mean, I've never been burgled or anything, but you're feeling like very vulnerable, very, you know, that somebody can access all this private information, and it's out there for anybody to use. So it's not a very nice feeling at all.
As soon as we alerted Janet that her card details were for sale, she called her bank and cancelled her card.
Better to know than not know, isn't it? So,
Yeah,
thank
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. We managed to contact 12 of the 13 cardholders whose details we got from the dark web. 10 people confirmed that their cards were current. 2 had already cancelled their cards because of fraud.
You can do a lot to protect yourself in this space. 80% of all the frauds we deal with can be prevented. And it's the most basic things, such as using antivirus, and yet still, the bulk of our society don't do that.
Make sure you are using a different password on each of the websites that you access. Make sure you update your computer, you're running the latest software. And last but not least, be a little bit of a cynic and be careful what you click on.
For some companies, it's the hackers themselves who can help keep their websites safe. They invite them to test their systems and can offer rewards if weaknesses are found. Enter Dubai-based hacker Yasser Ali.
I have found serious flaws in a lot of big companies like PayPal, like eBay, Facebook, Microsoft, Adobe, Sony.
Last year, Yasser breached PayPal's web security, discovering he could take over customer accounts with one click. But he didn't steal a penny. Instead, he told the company about the flaw. They fixed it, and he received a $10,000 reward. All the other companies made fixes too. We're setting him our own challenge, which doesn't involve breaking UK law.
I've got a task for you here. I've got a selection of big British brand names, and I'd like you to look at their websites for me, please, and carry out a passive reconnaissance on them, and tell me how vulnerable you think they are to hacking attack.
Once it's a passive reconnaissance, then it's okay.
Passive reconnaissance is like a burglar working out how to break into a house without actually doing it.
And then we can talk after that and let me know what you found, yeah?
Okay.
Brilliant, okay.
Bye.
Yasser is what's known as a white hat hacker, using his skills ethically. Not as lucrative as crime, but it still pays.
Apple, Microsoft, all the big names, they have recognized that white hat hackers are sometimes better at finding the bugs, the vulnerabilities. And so what they've done is it's like the Wild West. They've said, we'll pay you, it can sometimes be hundreds of thousands of dollars, if you alert us to a vulnerability, rather than sell it to the bad guys. We don't suffer the losses, our customers don't suffer the losses, and we'll pay you for the privilege.
So you've had a look at those company websites that I directed you to, yeah?
Yeah, right.
What's your overall impression?
For me, they seem vulnerable, except just one website. They had a very good security measures.
But all the others look vulnerable?
Yeah, almost all of them are vulnerable.
I know you've only done a passive reconnaissance, but can you give a couple of examples of the ways in which they're vulnerable?
Well, one of the companies, I could grab a lot of information from the administration panel, like a lot of email addresses, a lot of phone numbers of the employees, which can be used by criminals. It's very easy to find this information and also to exploit this information by the criminals. We can say it's easy.
Yasser's research is a small snapshot of UK companies we all deal with. We're not naming names because if he's right, it will alert criminals to any potential weaknesses in their websites.
What the criminals know, as well as the security industry, they know when those vulnerabilities occur, and so they go out and look for them. So if you're one of those who hasn't locked your door properly, there's been a fault in your lock, and they know how to pick it, they will keep checking your door. So if you haven't corrected it, they will find a way.
If a business holding our personal data is hacked, you'd think we would be the first to know. TalkTalk came clean, but some companies don't. In the UK, only phone and internet providers are legally obliged to report data breaches.
The legislation is fairly light at the moment, but we could ask the question whether or not the regulations are tight enough about how information should be kept secure in the first place. And I think it's an important question to ask where we see an increasing number of breaches taking place, and we therefore know that whatever the standards are, they're not actually effective in protecting our information at the moment.
Following last month's hack on TalkTalk, it says it has significantly increased the level of website protection. Lowry Love, the man accused of hacking US agencies, has been looking at TalkTalk. This is what he told us 11 days ago.
Me and some friends had a look at TalkTalk, and there's probably about 3 or 4 different ways you could still hack them today after this major compromise. So they're in a bad position, but I don't want to say it's negligence on their part, because everybody has kind of, the tide of complexity of computer systems has come in so fast that we haven't realised that we're behind it now.
The UK cyber security industry is worth £17 billion. TalkTalk says it is continually reviewing and updating its systems.
I discovered at the end of last week that I'm not one of the 157,000 TalkTalk customers whose personal details were stolen. But can I trust TalkTalk to keep my personal details safe in the future? Or, for that matter, any of the companies I deal with online?
For some, it's too late. Their trust in the internet has been shattered.
We're completely bewildered about the whole thing, and I don't know now how we're going to cope because we don't believe anybody.
Every time you put your data in the hands of an organisation, it is a risk. You know, you are taking a gamble doing that. What you've got to hope for is that organisation takes its security very seriously.
It's a really, really bad situation at the moment, one that's not going to get better until there is a complete change in the way that we approach security. And I don't say that to be alarmist, I say it because it's the truth.
Internet security is the responsibility of us all, a responsibility many of us don't yet appear to be taking seriously enough.
Nine o'clock, and here are your choices. Next here, Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall continues his war on waste. A brand new thriller starts on BBC Two. Ben Whishaw leads a great cast in London Spy. And BBC Three tackles the rise of female violence. Are women getting more angry? And if so, why?